I've been in Matthew, I've been hemmed in Matthew 5 a while. You remember? Right? Look at Matthew 5 as I started this morning. Matthew 5. Matthew 5. I'm going to read verse 17. Think not that, all I tell you is 10:16. Think not, 10:16, for his mercy endures forever. 10:16, amen. Matthew 5:17. think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. It means then that when it comes to the law or the prophets, there are two ways that the laws and the prophets can be engaged. One, to fulfill, and the opposite, to destroy. Right? The word to fulfill there has many meanings, one of which will be a prophecy coming to pass. Another meaning will be to preach something fully, to say something completely. Right? How do we know the meaning to pick? Because the semantic range is so wide. So when Matthew 5:17, if you go back to verse 1, and seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, that means when he was settled, arranged, ready. So when he was set, his disciples came unto him. So we know that when Jesus said whatever he said in verse 17, he was on the mountaintop surrounded by his disciples and then the multitudes. Verse 2, and he opened his mouth and taught them. So what was he doing? He was teaching. So he was teaching. So when it says in verse 17, think not that I am come, it means he has come as a teacher. So he has come as a teacher. So it's not talking specifically about the fulfillment of prophecy. It's talking about a teacher's ministry. What does a teacher do? It brings explanation and clarity and understanding. So when it says, I have not come to destroy but to fulfill, it means I have not come as a teacher that destroys. I have come as a teacher that fulfills. Now, what does it mean to fulfill? It means to preach or say or teach fully. So it means that whatever the writers of the law or the writers of the prophet had in mind, and whatever was their reason or intent for writing, I will be faithful to explain it that way. So whatever the prophets meant is what you find me saying. That's the meaning of fulfill. I bring the full meaning out. It's like this. If for whatever reason you find yourself in court, then you engage the services of a lawyer, and the lawyer will take the same law that you and I can read, but the lawyer will be found in court saying, I put it to you. Right? Or what are they trying to do? They're trying to argue the spirit of what was written. That we know what is said, but what is said meant this. This would be the condition, the context, the pretext, the whatever text, or this is the reason why this thing was said. Okay? And that's the way law is practiced anywhere in the world. So when Jesus says, I've come to fulfill the law, it means I have come to bring its meaning in the setting in which it was spoken. So things have been said in the Bible, is what it's saying. That things have been said in Matthew to Malachi, in Genesis to Malachi. And then they can be approached two ways: to destroy the meaning or intent, or to fulfill, which means to bring the full meaning out. And so Jesus, so you hear in this place, it will say, you have heard it said, I say. You have heard it said, I say. You have heard it said, I say. Meaning, there are some teachers that have told you this. I have come as another teacher that is telling you this. So it's a contrast of teachers, not a contrast of the law. So Moses is not the person on the other side of the divide. So Jesus is not fighting Moses. Jesus is actually having a conversation with the audience about the other kind of teachers that there are. And the other kinds are the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes. Look at Matthew 23. Matthew 23. So I'm stepping out of chapter 5 this morning because but we used what we've said thus far to establish some foundations. In Matthew 23 and verse 2, it says, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Verse 4, for they bind heavy burdens. What do? They bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their what? Fingers. So the explanations or the teaching ministry of the Pharisees was such that by the time you finish listening to them, you will be weighed down. So they put burdens on people, right? The Pharisees, when you listen to them, you will live with burdens. So when it says they put burdens on people's shoulders, it's not physical burdens. It is the burden, a psychological burden from a teacher's explanation. Look at Matthew 15. Matthew 15, and I'm in verse 1. Then came to Jesus scribes and who again? Scribes and Pharisees. Then it says in verse 3, he answered and said unto them, that means unto the scribes and the what? Pharisees. Why do you transgress the commandment of God? Can you see? So rather than say destroy the law, it said you transgress the commandment of God. So it says, why do you transgress the commandment of God? How? By your traditions. So what is the opposite of the commandment of God? The traditions of men. Who are these men that had their own traditions? The scribes and the Pharisees. They had their own traditions. Now, it says in verse 4, for God commanded, saying, honor your father and mother, and he that curseth father and mother, let him die the death. But you say, can you see? God commanded, but you say. So when Jesus is contrasting, God is on one side and the Pharisees on the other. Matthew 15 and verse 5. So in verse 4, God commanded, saying. Verse 5, you say. So that means God has his own commandments, you guys have yours. Okay, so Matthew 15:5, but you say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, right? And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Yeah, if you read Mark and the other renditions of this same passage, effectively what the Pharisees taught people was, rather than take care of your, so let's say you had 50 pounds you wanted to give to your parents. Then a Pharisee or scribe will be in the synagogue, wherever they are, and they will tell you the equivalent of today's, if you want the Psalm 91 miracle, right? You've got to sow the Psalm 91 seed. And if you want to see want to move the mighty hand of God, then you put your hand in your pocket 91 times. And then when you give the Psalm 91 offering 91 times, he shall give his angels charge over you. Is there anybody sat here today that could do better if the angels of God kept charge over you? And if you are there, say, Now the next thing you do is you put your hand in your pocket and then you give it. Then, so that kind of person will be like, oh, but I have my mom at home I want to take care of. You'll be like, don't worry. First settle God. First settle God, then you are free of taking care of your parents. So that was just saying. That just saying that you, in verse 6 now, it says, honor not father or his mother, he shall be free. Why? He used it in the temple. After all, he's building God's house. And that if you struggle to build God's house, he will build your parents too. As though God needs money more than your parents. Anyway. But look, this is Jesus' explanation. It's not even Sekou saying it. He said, thus have you what? Made the commandment of God of none effect by your traditions. So So when Jesus is talking about somebody said, but somebody said, somebody said, but somebody said, at the other end is always the Pharisees and the scribes. So when you read Matthew 5, and Jesus will say, you've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor, hate your enemies. That's not God. That is the Pharisees and the scribes. You will now say, but I say unto you, you should do what? Love your enemies. Because that is what Moses really wrote. But the scribes and the Pharisees will take a text out of a setting and use it to now teach that, you see, that person is your enemy, and just pray God will deliver you from enemies. Say amen, amen. It's okay, good now. Kill them all now. So in other words, again, we face a challenge today, and the challenge that we face is that people think that Jesus and Moses are on opposite sides of a football match. You know, like, I wouldn't say Arsenal, you know. I won't say Arsenal. I don't know what kind of rubbish game they played that they are now. I don't know. I don't understand. But Bro Fash, I'm coming for you this season. I am coming. Every day is for the Arsenal. Yes, you know. But it is not like. Let's take Brighton Man U. Brighton Man U. Yes, Brighton Man U. You know, I've been told to walk in love, just be an equal. Yeah. So Brighton Man U, you know, it's not like Moses is on Man U side and Jesus is on the Brighton side. No. Jesus and Moses and Isaiah and Habakkuk and Nahum and Obadiah and all those guys are on one team. So it will be the tempter, the Pharisees, the scribes, the Sadducees, the false teachers, the false prophets that are on the other side. Okay, so that when this is important. In other words, considering the amount of time we've spent in Matthew 5, right? We've tried to show that fact that Jesus did not rebuke what Moses wrote, because people think he did, but he did not. In fact, I just read to you a troublesome piece of scripture. Let's go to it one more time, because I want us to pay attention. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 4. Everybody, let's read it together. Matthew 15:4. Let's go. For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. Stop. So, how many things did God say just now? 2. He said 2 things. What's the first one? Honor your father and your mother. What's the second one? Don't mumble it, say it loudly. He that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. Now, some people will struggle with the first one. Pharisees, honor your father and mother. Some other people will struggle with the second one. My dear friends, read that second one slowly again. Please, who has a translation that is not King James? You have, what's your translation? NIV? Read it out loud. Verse 4.
So God said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death.
Good. So it says, anyone that curses his father or mother must be put to death. Have you read that before? The hall is quiet. Let's go one more time. Have you read that before? Yes? If you haven't, you read it now. If you haven't, you read it just now. Now, the trouble is who did Jesus attribute that statement to? Read verse 4 again. Matthew, slow down and read it. Who did he attribute it to? God commanded. God commanded. In other words, Jesus, for starters, took the writings of Moses as God speaking. That's Jesus. Lada, lada, lada. Now, Jesus, the ladder himself. That's bro ladder. Jesus, right? He said that God, we would have wanted to wriggle out of it and say, Jesus said Moses wrote. He said God commanded. Right? So that means, think about it. Who is Jesus? God in the flesh. Yeah? First Timothy says that in chapter 3, verse 16, that great is the mystery of godliness, that God was manifest in the flesh. So Jesus is God in the flesh. In fact, it said in John, if you've seen me, you have seen the Father. And the Father, as a man, said that, hey, you will say Moses wrote it, I will say God commanded it. Okay, let's take it a bit slower. It means then that in the eyes of Jesus, I must see this Bible as having two authors. Every book has two authors. Jesus is here saying that God himself is an author of the text. In other words, Moses, therefore, will be the hand. He will be the visible author. God will be the invisible author. And when Jesus came around, he upheld what Moses wrote as what God wanted written. So in other words, we must pick our fights well, my dear friends. So if you are picking a fight with Moses, pick it well. But on the other end of the fight is God. So you and I are left in a dilemma, as every honest student of the Bible must be. If you are an honest reader of the Bible, this text should make you sweat. If you are not sweating, you don't understand the import of what we just read. Jesus is saying that in the day in which he was speaking, a person that does not, let me read it a different way for you. It says, he that curses father or mother should be put to death. That's what Jesus said. At that point, you join the atheists and you say, you Christians, you are crazy. And I used to be that way. And sincerely, when you listen to the average Christian explain this text, they've gone cuckoo. Because even those that are explaining it, they were disobedient to their parents. And they weren't killed. For which young person has grown up who was not once disobedient at some point to parents? Someone said, he said if you curse, to our mothers and fathers, the things we do many times is as though we've cursed. So there's no hiding place for you, oh man. Yes. I mean, let's be very clear. So what is at stake in this series, right, is that the reputation of God is on the line. There's no hiding. So we might as well bring our gloves out and say, there's no hiding. God is either going to stand up under scrutiny or the atheist of the universe is right. That God is undependable. That is a killer of young children. That is responsible for infanticides. And that more deaths have come as a result of Jehovah than have come from pedophiles and from people that dehumanize little babies. You can't hide from this. My dear friends, we mustn't explain it away. Right? It's a good thing you didn't meet me when I wasn't born again. Yeah, I said, some boy was thinking, I thought you said this guy is a pastor. Yes. If God didn't want us to think about it, he shouldn't have written it. He wrote it because he's not afraid for us to think. It is religious people that are afraid of thinking people. Yes? But see, think about this. When we were younger, and it's not only when we were younger, for many people here today it's still true. But when we were younger, when you sat in your chemistry, in your English, everybody did it. In your English class, the teacher talks, then tells you to discuss from the first principles or thereabout. And then somebody gets, I don't know about you, has your exam paper been ever returned to you? And you are thinking, me too, is this what I wrote? Right? You just be seeing, why didn't I put comma, semicolon? I didn't put full stop. Under pressure, we are not writing what we think we are writing. What I'm saying is this. It is one thing to be given a text. It's a different thing to interpret it right. And I'm saying it's not a theological problem. It's a human problem that shows up in theology. So unless somebody's thinking, don't come and tell me what I don't know. Let me tell you what you don't know. But what is said, you can't escape it. I think we should pick, who has like good news translation? Yeah. Brola. Okay, amplified.
For God commanded, honor your father and your mother, and you curses or revile or speak evil or abuse or treats improperly his father or mother, let him surely come to his end by death.
Good. So, amplified it. My friend, as they were reading that, could you not find how you ran foul? Could you? He said to speak evil. You know when you say, this parent serve, I don't. Yeah, we say it, we think it. Isaac, you might not be able to believe it, but we've been there. Yes. Don't go and quote me to your mom and dad, though. Yeah. But therein is the point. The point is, you meet a text like that, don't let's do what we do as Christians and bury our head in the sand like an ostrich. And then, so what some people now say is, that is Old Testament. It has passed away. But Jesus actually said, I've not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And in fact, he attacked the scribes for changing it. That's what he did. See, because what led to all this? Let's go back to Matthew 15. So he said, Sekou, I want us to leave this text. No, it's an introduction. It's an intro. Matthew 15:4. And for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, can you say? So, he was saying that, but the Pharisees, they say something else. Meaning that, in fact, when Jesus finished explaining it, he says, what you have then done is that you've made the word of God of none effect by your traditions. Right? So that statement stands. A statement and its meaning are not the same thing. But the statement stands. I cannot do a cop-out and say that that was before men knew Jesus. No, Jesus said it. Let me say it again. Jesus upheld it, and he said God commanded it. I'm going to say something to you one more time. Whatever God commands never passes away. Do you understand that? If God said it, you can't revise it. So it must be, what does it mean? That's the only thing. That's why Jesus said, I've come to fulfill. That means to preach it fully. So you have already said, but I say. You have to appreciate why Jesus is saying, but I say. It is not, don't mind that Moses. He took too much unleavened bread once afternoon like that on a Sabbath day. And because he was drunk, he wrote this. But that's not what was said. Yes? That's not what was said. The greatest area that will task your scriptural thinking at the end of the day is, what do you do with the entanglements God has put himself in the Bible? God has entangled himself. He has entangled himself. My job is not to untangle him, but to understand the entanglement. Because who am I to untangle him? What do I know? But I mustn't then tie God up beyond how he's tied himself. So there are two different things now. Okay? So As a student of the scriptures, right, you must never be afraid of what the scriptures say. One, you must then study to bring out its meaning too. You cannot succeed by invalidating Moses, for Jesus actually upholds Moses. We can't explain our Jonah or Habakkuk. Yes? Our job is, it has been said, but I say. It's not Moses wrote, don't mind him. I'm now writing, mind me. No, that's not what he said. Yes? Are we together? Good. This room is quiet this morning. Deuteronomy chapter 5. Are you there? Mr. Emmy, this kind of text we are studying this morning, some people that are not Christians might bring it up your way. So we must know what the Bible says. What does it mean? What does it mean? Yes. Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 16. Are you there? Are you there? Good. Deuteronomy 5:16. Let's read together. Let's go. Honor thy father and thy mother as the Lord thy God has commanded thee, that their days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord your God giveth thee. So that stuff that they were talking about, the A part, the earlier part of verse 4 in Matthew 15 is from Deuteronomy chapter 5 and what? Verse 16. Let's go to Exodus and chapter 20. Because when Jesus was talking about this, he then said God commanded it. So look at Exodus 20. And let's look at verse 12. Let's read verse 12 together. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Okay, so Moses said it in more than one place. In fact, Deuteronomy, Deuto means second. So Deuteronomy is to teach again. So Moses taught it again, repeated it, right? And so we've again let's look at the latter part, that part of whosoever curses father or mother. Look at Leviticus chapter 20. Leviticus chapter 20. Someone say, that's why I don't read all those places in the Bible. Leviticus 20. Leviticus 20. Are you there? I'm going to verse 9. Leviticus 20. Say, let's read together. Everybody, let's go. Everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him. Okay, good. So Jesus did not fabricate whatever was said in Matthew 15:4b. And he called this God commanded. So our trouble now is, you can fight Moses, you can't fight Jesus. Hopefully you don't. And if you don't fight Jesus, Jesus upheld what Moses said, because he said God commanded it. You see how it goes? Pastor Titi? Titi Lokwa, everybody! Good. Now, so see what he says. Someone says, Pastor Sekou, I don't like this clarity. Let's just move on. Tell me about my salvation being secure. Let's say glory to it. No. Yes. Right? So Leviticus, that's 20 verse 9. In fact, look at Exodus, the second book of the Bible again. Exodus chapter 21. So Exodus 21 has another way of writing this, but same point. Exodus 21. And let's look at verse 17. Exodus 21:17. Let's read it out loud, everybody. He that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Yes? So, was it written in Exodus? Yes. Who wrote it? Moses. Who commanded it? God. Was it written in Leviticus? Yes. Who wrote it? Moses. Who commanded it? God. Now, what is the other challenge we have with those texts. Some other people will come with traditions. And why is it important to know whether what I'm listening to is tradition or not? It will invalidate or make of non-effect exactly what God said. Okay? So I must ask myself, when I read Genesis through Malachi, am I adopting traditions of men, or am I adopting the original intention of God, which made the prophets right and Jesus upheld? Right? I must ask myself that. Are we clear? Okay. Are we clear? So now the other thing that I want you to see then is, let's go back to our starting text, Psalm. You got to love why we started with Psalms. I've not read it in a while. Psalm 119. Psalm 119. You know, after you read those texts now, you should be breaking into sweat. Psalm 119. Are you there? Look at verse 18. Verse 18. Let's read together. Psalm 119 verse 18. Open thou mine eyes, that I may what? Behold wondrous things out of thy law. Did you see that David, the writer, said, my eyes need to be opened to behold the wonder in these things I'm reading. Meaning, I will get into trouble the moment I read it without my eyes being open. And for my eyes to be open, the invisible author is the one that opens those eyes. It says, open thou my eyes. So what will happen if your eyes are not opened by the invisible author? You bring forth traditions of men. If your eyes are opened by the invisible author, then it will be a fulfillment of what is there, or a preaching fully. So somebody thinks what I just said now is, there are some people, God will open their eyes. And there are some other people, God will not open their eyes. Now, remember where it started from? Having eyes, but not seeing. Yeah, you remember? Good. So when he describes that, is it describing the action of God or the attitude of man? Attitude of man. So it says, their own eyes, they have closed. I don't need to go back over all those things again, right? Yes? You remember? Good. So it is men that take a posture that prevents the understanding that God brings to show up. But the fact remains that David, King David, whatever you want to call him, he said that God should open his eyes that he may behold wonderful things out of the law. Okay, for starters, let's read Exodus chapter 21. Exodus 21. So in other words, what are we going to do with this demand for death? Yes? Because nobody here today, well, especially if you're a parent, nobody here, because you will have either done it to somebody or you are now the glorious recipient of it. Yes. Now, so nobody here should be bamboozled that a child could speak contrary to to parents. What should bamboozle you, I hope it does, is what is then prescribed in Scripture. It should surely die. Yes? So it's that death you must. Hold on. So if I read a thing in the Scriptures, if I want to find its meaning, where do I go to find its meaning? Scriptures. Where must I not start going? Merriam-Webster. That death is the sudden cessation of the exchange of air between. Now. Merriam-Webster was not the one that wrote Matthew 15 or Leviticus 20. Yes. Now, so look, I have nothing against Merriam-Webster. Yes. But I'm just saying that right now we can't call Miriam into the hall. Yes. Okay. So it's the Bible. So because it's the Bible, I want to try and understand when the Bible talks about death, right? What is death? Someone say, we're going to have to look at what death is. Don't you think it's important to know what death is in that instance? Since the child must surely be put to death. Please, just for clarity, who has Living Bible or Good News Translation or those kind of stuff? Who has? Or Message? Who has? Go again. Prince, which one is that? Prince, see oppression. I want Message. Oh, Is it? Read it. 21:4. Sorry. Matthew 15 and verse 4. Matthew 15 and verse 4. Matthew, go on.
God clearly says, respect your father and mother, and anyone denouncing father or mother will be killed.
Okay, anyone. Right? So when I say children, that means if your mom is 90 and you are 70, and you now think you have experience to use to talk to mom, after you've seen 7 decades, mom has seen 9, at that point you will still die. Yes? Good. So because you shouldn't read this text, he said anyone. So you mustn't read it like it's talking about, it's a teenage, it's Gen Z. It's not Gen Z. It is anyone. So just imagine us hearing that something happened to Sam. Now Sam was found talking and they said, that's how we're looking at him. Oh. And now say, don't you know it's Matthew 15? You know, at that point in time, you will discover your stance towards the scripture. Now, get this right. If we investigate and what the scripture says is the fact that an aberrant child should be killed, that's what it says. But is that what it says? Is the real question. It said death. You must understand biblical death. Oh. If you don't know biblical death, there will be trouble. Oh. So, where did I say we should open to? Exodus, thank you. Exodus 21. Exodus. Okay. Well, what time did I tell you I was starting again? Are you Olati? You want this sermon this morning too? Okay. Let's leave Exodus because I see my time has gone. And let's start with Luke. Let's look at the book of Luke. Yes. So we're going to look at Luke and chapter 15. Are you there? What chapter? Luke 15. Death. You should surely die. Now, Luke 15. Yes. Let's get to verse. What verse? 11. Luke 15, 11. And he said, a certain man. Who is talking? Jesus. Who is talking? So he said, a certain man had how many sons? 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that felleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. You should remember this when we took parables last year. Yeah? Good. So we're going to take it a bit further this morning. And not many days after, the younger son did what? Gathered what? All together and took his journey into a far country. And there, what did he do? Wasted his substance with righteous living. Okay? So, here is a boy, and he went into where? A far country. Where did he go? Into a far country. Now, I'm going to skip. All manner of things happened. Let's now go to verse 17. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? Okay. So, verse 18, I will what? Arise and go to my father. So if he said, I will go to my father, that means he was not with his father. In fact, we had read earlier that he went into a far country. So I will go to my father. I have what? So this is what he will say. I have what? Sinned against heaven and before thee. Okay, thus far in this story, what does the boy mean by I have sinned against thee? I am not where you are. Yes? Yeah? Good. So I am not where you are. Jesus gave us this parable because we need it. That's verse 18. Come all the way down to verse 20. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, so really he went to a far country. When it was what? A great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and, okay, so that means where was he before? Where he did not have compassion of the father. Good. So the father then ran and fell on his neck. Where was he before? Where the father could not fall on his neck. What is that called? I have sinned. Okay. So what does it mean to say I have sinned? I'm not able to receive my father's embrace. I'm not able to receive his compassion. Yes? Yes? Good. So it says here, what verse are we in now? Don't mumble it. 21. We're in 21. Luke 15:21. It says, I have sinned against heaven. Yeah. So when he was talking about heaven, he meant his father, right? And in your sight, and I'm no more worthy to be called what? Thy son. Look at verse 22. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his hand, shoes on his feet. Yes? It says, and bring either the fatted calf, kill it, and let us eat and be what? So what was the boy far from? Receiving the merriment of his father. Receiving the provisions of ring, of shoes, of garment of his father. Are we in the same place? Okay. Now, so when God has something for you and you are not able to receive it, what do we call that? You've sinned. Is that clear? Yes? Good. Now let's read verse 24. The father is talking, this boy is not your son. It's this guy's son. So I will take his word over yours. Everybody, let's read verse 24 together. Let's go. For this, let's start again. 1, 2. For this, my son was dead. Stop. Who is a dead son? The one that does not receive compassion, the one that does not receive embrace, the one that does not receive provision, and so we say is far from his father. So what is dead? To be far from. Right? To be far from. The father is not deluded. He said, this my son was dead. So the Bible talks about a person that should die. And the Bible now tells us what death is. So death is a separation from. In this case, a separation from compassion, from embrace, from fatherhood, from love. Yes? Okay. Can I go on? Sure. For this my son was what? Did this father have a dead son or not? Yes. Did his son die? Did his son die? Yes. He said my son was dead. Did his son die? Yes. What does that mean? He was far from father. What does that mean? Far from compassion. What does that mean? Far from love, far from embrace, far from the father falling on his neck. He was far from provision. Far. Are we together? Good. So he says, my son is dead. Let's go back again. If a son curses the father, he must die. What is death? To be far from father's compassion, to be far from father's embrace, to be in a distant place, right? Separate from the father. Yes? Okay. Yes? Good. So, Luke 15, and what verse are we in? 24. For this my son was dead. So what did the father give to the dead son? Compassion. What did he give to the dead son? Love. What did he give to the dead son? Embrace. Provision. So he said, this my son was dead and is what? What does it mean to be alive again? He receives my embrace. He receives my provision. He receives my supply. He receives my parentage. He receives my... Yeah? Are we together? Good. So it says he's alive again. One more time. Is this death something to do with the nostrils? No. It's not nostrils. So the guy was breathing but dead. He was breathing but dead. In that his life was meaningless without the Father's embrace and the Father's love. Yes? Now, can I go on? Sure? Yes? Luke 15:24. For this my son was dead. So Jesus is putting biblical words into parables so that we can have understanding of what those things mean. Right? So if I don't get this parable, then I won't understand the meaning of the words that is spoken. Who is a father? Is somebody that initiates reconciliation. He ran towards the boy. That's a father. A father is not somebody that can get a girl pregnant. Amen? Amen? Although in that he can get somebody pregnant, is a father because he initiated pregnancy. Yes? But really, a father is a supplier. So it says here in Luke 15:24, my son was dead. He's alive again. He was lost. So what does it mean to be dead? To be lost. So we can say he's lost or he's dead. So he was lost and now he's found. What found him? Compassion. What found him? Love. What found him? Mercy. What found him? Embrace. What found him? The Father running towards him. Yes? So if a son dies, the only thing that can recover him is the Father run towards him. But he must open his hand to receive the Father's run. Yes? 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 Yes. 24. It says was lost and is found, and they began to be merry. So now let us go to another portion of scripture that might bail us out. Genesis and chapter 2. Genesis and chapter 2. Yes? Genesis and chapter 2. Are you there? Yes? Good. Genesis and chapter 2. I'm going to go to verse 5. Verse 5. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a thought. I apologize. And every plant is talking about creation. And every plant of the field before it was where? In the earth. Every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not what? Caused it to rain upon the earth. And what? There. Let's read together the last part. Let's read out loud. There was not a man to till the ground. Who has a concordance here? Concordance? Concordance. What you scholars? Who has a concordance? Strongs and Co. Who has a concordance here? Okay, please come towards the front. Brother Prince. Come. Brother Prince. Yes, good. Help me find the meaning. So what did he say in verse 5? There was not a man to what? Till the ground. So what was missing in that story? A man to till the ground. We want to look at that word till. What does it mean? Till. It has a lot of semantic. So just keep reading it out. To labor. So there was not a man to labor. Okay, let's go on. Work. There was not a man to work. Go on.
Do work.
Yes, simple.
To work for another.
Hold on. So there was not a man to what? Serve another. Serve another still includes the work. That's good. So now we know that there was not a man who is willing to serve somebody else. Go on.
To serve another by labor.
To serve another. So simple. Yeah, go on.
To serve God.
To serve. So to serve God for whose benefit? Another person's benefit. Let's go on.
To serve with Levitical service.
Excellent. You can go sit down, man of God. May the Lord bless the reading of his word. So to serve another is what the word means. In particular, Levitical service. What is Levitical service? Priestly service. So we can then read that Genesis 2:5 well now. There was not a man who will be a priest. So what was missing in Genesis? A priest, a man as a priest. So there were men, but not a man who is a priest. What God is looking for is a priest. Okay, so to till the ground is to be a priest. Yeah? Yes? Okay. Now I'm going to go a bit further. And I'm in verse 15 now. Genesis 2:15. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden. Okay. Bro Prince, please come again. 15, bro Prince, just station yourself around here. Bro Prince, come. Glory to God. Come, bro Prince, the man of God, the right Reverend Prince. Now, so I'm now in verse 15. Yes, I'm in verse 15. I want the meaning of that word, dress and keep. Start with dress.
So dress is to labor to work. It's the same thing, really.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. So, to dress is talking about, hold on, to dress as what? He just said the same thing. So, to dress as what? As a priest. So, he's looking for somebody that will dress. That means act or function in the capacity of a priest. What is that word keep?
So keep is to keep, to guard, to observe, to give heed, to have charge of.
Yeah.
Watchman.
A watchman.
To wait for.
Wait for.
To retain.
Yeah.
Treasure up in memory.
Yes.
To restrain, to keep within bounds.
Yes.
To protect.
To good. Protect, preserve, keep.
Abstain, refrain, to keep oneself.
To keep oneself. So that means, that word means somebody that will keep it in memory, to keep himself as a priest. If you combine to dress and to keep, that means in his heart, in his mind, he will be somebody who maintains a boundary. That boundary, hold on, if you have a priest and you are talking about the boundary within which a priest must operate, what do you call that boundary? A temple. A temple. Okay? So that means the Garden of Eden is a way of illustrating what? A temple. A temple which is the boundary of service for a priest. Are you still with me? Okay. Now, so let's now read verse. What verse was that? 15. In verse 5, there was not a man to be a priest. Later on, there was not a man to keep in his thoughts, to maintain the boundary, to watch over, to guard, right? As a priest. Well, now, that's 14. Now, it now says in verse, so that's 15 in fact, 15. Now, it now says in verse 16, and the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you must what? Sorry, you may freely eat. But of a tree of what? The knowledge of good and evil. Okay, remember, is to keep something in his memory. Memory is knowledge. It now says of a particular tree, which is a knowledge of good and evil, he must not eat. Now, if we know that is to keep in memory, something that will help him stay in a boundary, then this tree of knowledge will make him go outside the boundary. Yes? Yeah? Good. So, he will go far. So, it's meant to be in a boundary, then it's going to go beyond the boundary, outside the boundary. So, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil takes a man outside the boundary that God wants man to be in as a priest, and it puts him far off. Okay, now, so let's read on. It says, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you should not, for in the day you eat, what happens? You move far. You are separated. You don't embrace my love, my compassion, my provision, the priesthood. So what is the debt here? To be separated from God's provision of priesthood. So God as a father has supplied priesthood for man. What did Adam reject in the garden? The offer of priesthood. How is it taught? Zubi gave Bisola apple to eat. No, it was my auntie Olaniki who gave our brother Nnamdi cashew nut to eat. And that is how men began to have Adam's apple. You believe that at your peril. Anyway, in the middle of my gist or my joke, you get the point. So it says of a tree. Actually, we must go to Genesis 1, 2, and 3 and read it one of these days, verse by verse. But for the purpose of our conversation, God also said that a particular person will surely die. What is death in context? It will be moved outside the boundary, right, of God's provision as a father. So God has offered himself to man as a father. This son that will now go into a far country is called Adam. Right? He takes everything and goes away. He doesn't accept love, accept compassion. He doesn't accept fatherhood. Doesn't accept God's provision. He's lost. Or as we like to say, we evangelicals, he fell. Yes, that's the fall of Adam. Yeah? He fell out of embracing fatherhood. He fell out of embracing compassion. So when something is available from God and a man doesn't embrace it, we say the man is dead. Is dead. Okay, so we are seeing that this death in Genesis 2 and the death in the parable told by Jesus in Luke 15, summer. Yes? Good. So now, so we can see then that when the Bible is talking about death, so when Adam ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, did he die? Did he surely die? Is he talking about his nostrils? No! Because it was still available to have a conversation with God. So he was breathing. Yes? Good. When God's child did not listen to God, did the child die? Yes? Did the child die surely? When he didn't honor his father and mother, did he die? He died. Yes? Yes? He died. What is the death? While talking. While talking. Hold on. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Chapter 3. No, chapter 2. We're trying to understand what does it mean to surely put to death. Yes? Ephesians? Ephesians, and I'm in chapter 2. Am I in 2? Am I? Look at verse 1. Ephesians 2, I'm in verse 1. Only I know the hour or the date of where I was going. Look at verse 1. And you, somebody say more. And you had he made alive or quickened, who were what? Dead in trespasses and sins. What is the death? Wherein in time past you walked according to the course of his world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that walketh in the children that disobey. Yes? Yeah? So look at Paul's description of death. That we were dead, which means we were walking as children of disobedience. Okay? Are you still there? But look at verse 5. Even when we were dead in sins, as quickened us together. So a father supplies quickening, supplies life, supplies fatherhood, aka priesthood. He supplies life. He supplies the tree of life, as you may say. What is man? A child of disobedience. What was he? Dead in sins. Why was he dead? He will not honor father or mother. What does it mean to honor father or mother? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your... Yeah? Good. So, amen? Good. So, let's now go back to Matthew 5. Matthew 5, and it's exactly 1 hour. Matthew 5. Matthew 5. All that to do, will you have mercy on the Son of God today? Hey. I'm going to sing it for you. Now, Matthew 15. Are you Matthew 15? Are you there? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. He that curses father or mother. Stop. So what does it mean to look at the setting? In what setting was curse father or mother used? In what setting? In this Matthew 15. In what setting? What is it contrasted against? Honor father. So what does it mean to curse father or mother? Not to honor. That's what it means. Okay? So it says here, honor father. It says now, hey, listen. So these guys in Matthew 15 verse 4, for God commanded, saying, honor father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, or he that does not honor father or what? Or mother, what happens? It dies the death. What death? What is death? Is separated. What is it separated from? Their parenthood. What is it separated from? Their love, their compassion is away from. Why did I make it he? Let's be equal opportunity employer. She's away from her papa. She's away from her mama. Okay, hold on, because we're taking it slowly. So if this child was taken to the prison, is the child dead? Look at it again. If the child is taken to a school for juvenile delinquents, is the child dead? Yes. Why? Is now separate from father or mother. Yes? 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 Good. So when children disobey their fathers and mothers, should they surely die? Yes. What does it mean death? What does the Bible say you must not spare when it comes to a child? The rod of correction. So if I read the Bible together, what is the sure death that must happen to a child that dishonors father or mother? The rod of correction. They are now far from compassion. Yes? And what has happened to that child? It died by correction. Amen. Someone said, Pastor, I don't like that one. I like the one where really, all I used to do before, Daddy Mo, well, I used to slap my kids. When we read this text this morning, I saw that I should be killing them. And I was patting myself in the back to say, I have tried. Now you are saying I should correct them. Because what does the Bible say? See, you must, when you take a scripture, you take all of what the Bible says about it. Yes? Yeah? So, what does the Bible tell us to do to our children so that they can grow up and not depart? We train them in the way they should go. What happens when there's foolishness in their heart? We apply the rod of correction to the seat of learning. You know the seat of learning? Okay. If you don't know the seat of learning, okay. Even that, you must know what it means though. So I like this teaching this morning. You mean I can take horse whip and whip the living daylight out of? We'll just stop on the edge of death. No. When you are a delinquent child, what does God do to you? It chastises you. Yes? And it's not easy on the flesh. But you are breathing. Revelation 3:19. Who does Jesus rebuke? Those that he loves. Okay, so we are piecing it together. We're almost landing, but I can't land because it will not be Sekou if we just started and landed like that. Yes. Good. But at least you are not going home today thinking, I have to go and sit down and start thinking about all this debt. Yes? You at least have to sit down and think about it again. What we've just done, as an intro really, is to say that God stands justified in what he said. The trouble is, God is a spirit. He wants to communicate his thoughts to men. How will he communicate his thoughts to men he will have to use the language of men. Once he uses the language of men, which he must use, yes? So once he uses the language of men, then what he says is not subject to the rules of grammar. Do you understand? Yeah? That is where dark sayings come from. Dark sayings. Dark saying is easy. I mean, this figure of speech, Synedoki. Yeah? There are quite a number of them. Simile. Metaphor. Personification. Yeah? You know, when you sit in an English class, you would think you like it until you sit in an advanced class of grammar. And they now tell you about mood, tense. And I'm like, just to say I'm coming. I know the subject, language. What I'm trying to tell you, why do dark sayings exist? It's because God has a command for men. And it must be spoken to men to the understanding of men. It will be said by men, to men, so that it can be human language. Once it is human language, then the rules of the syntax of grammar, of structure, of all those things come in. And then things are said that are so clear to a generation of 3,000 years ago, and they are so unclear to a generation today. Because words are not static, they are dynamic. But what was said as it was said and meant to be understood. Notice what we did. We went to mine. I didn't go and tell you that there was a post I was reading yesterday. Because the post of yesterday is written in Ayomide's Gen Z vibe, steez. Yeah? I don't want to, it's Emila. I say it's Emila. Yeah? Do you understand? So, again, look at what we didn't do. We did not hide from the word kill. We didn't hide from the word death. We didn't start from, it's Moses. Moses was not a bloodthirsty idiot. He doesn't understand anything. It was what Jesus said. No, don't say that. It's the holy word of God. You are allowed to keep quiet and say, I don't get it. It's a honest answer. We just started this. We have not finished. We are introducing it. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, myself and my brother, everybody. Oh, yes. Pronouns be even waving. Right? We shall be visiting this together. I will read that text one more time and then we'll close. Matthew 15 and verse 4. But he answered and said unto them, why do you also transgress the command? Sorry, I said 4. For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. Let me pause, sorry. You know when you read Genesis and chapter 4, right? And you hear that Cain, he walked away from the presence of God. What does that mean? He died. Did you see? He died. He walked away. And after he died, he went to build a city. In fact, when Adam died, he gave birth to a Cain. He died. He gave birth to Abel. Right? So the death is not a breathing thing. It's not medical. Yes? Good. Now, so the death is not it's not a medical thing. The death is the death as it's spoken in the Bible. To mean what it means as it was written. My job is to study to show myself approved, the workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Hallelujah. Amen. Rise to your feet, everybody. And walk over to somebody who is not on your seat or your chair. Walk over.